Hello, Frugal Force. This is Captain Frugal reporting for duty. And today I have an interesting subject I want to talk about, and it's Stargirl in the season. Now, I'm going to try not to give too many spoilers, but I'm going to be honest, there is going to be some because I think it's warranted, and why this show should be the rule, not the exception, in superhero television. So, sit back, enjoy the video. Alright, Frugal Force, so here I am. We're going to talk about Stargirl. Also, before I do, make sure you hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to help out this channel if you don't mind. Also, make sure you stick to the end for the trivia question of the video. First person to get the answer right in the comment section below, and don't cheat and look it up. You'll get that no prize. Alright, so digging in, Stargirl. If you haven't been aware, I'm a big fan of the Stargirl television series, and I think it should be the norm. And if that was the case, I think I would enjoy a lot of these other television series of superheroes even more. It made up pretty much in every way that Batwoman did wrong, where Batwoman focused on not as much characters but one particular trait of a character and pushed it in an agenda, constantly pushing the viewers away and polarizing the show. Stargirl did the opposite. Stargirl seemed to hit on almost all cylinders. Why? Well, let's talk about it. First of all, budget-wise, it looks like Stargirl did good budget-wise. The effects look good, especially for the budget that it would have for a television show. And on top of that, the heroes, the characters looked like they were going to be superheroes. They didn't try to dress up like they weren't superheroes and just going around like we see in some of the other shows. Instead, they dressed up like they actually wanted to be heroes. They wanted the superhero outfits, and that is something a lot of us comic book nerds and geeks, we enjoy. We want our heroes looking like the heroes off the page. So we had that. So we had a decent budget, decent effects. We had heroes that dressed up and looked like heroes. But one of the big things here is the characters, the characterization. They really had an opportunity to drop the ball here on this show and go full forward, full pedal, full throttle with the feminism, and women are good and all men are evil. And they didn't. They did a pretty darn good job with casting. And then on top of that, with casting, you look at it, they put people hit. And you might go, well, what do you mean by that? Well, let's look. How do you come into this situation? The character Stargirl, she chose people that she knew that she thought would be a good fit for that hero, like the right one to be Wildcat because of her fighting skills. And on top of that, circumstances. Circumstances sometimes are beyond our control and cause something to happen. And we've seen that with Our Man. So we've seen that with all these characters. We had the smart, brainy character, which was a little cliche there, don't get me wrong. But even how they ended it on the series adds some depth to that, as well as to the Wildcat character. The characters weren't one-noted. These characters weren't just based on their sexuality alone. They were based on several characteristics. How they grew up, what they grew up with, the repercussions for the choices they made, and making up for the mistakes they made. None of them were Mary Sue's. None of them necessarily did anything super terrible, right? One took pictures of herself, for example, and gave her to her boyfriend in a very private nature. And what happened? It blew up in her face, and that caused a major abruption and a change in her family dynamic as well as in her life, and it changed her fundamentally, and she had to deal with that. These, once again, had nothing to do with just sexual orientation or just gender. Things were changed based on how they were brought up, what their situations were, and what they've done with themselves to have the cause and effect in their life. That is good characterization. So on top of that, let's talk about characterization a little bit more. Once again, a little bit spoiler here. What happens? When is it okay to kill a villain? We get that. We don't get to explore that any farther because it happens in the very last episode where Wildcat ends a villain. They don't really show the aftermath of her dealing with that, but I can almost guess, and I hope they do, they show how that's going to affect her as well as in the team in the future. Is Stargirl going to look at her the same knowing that she killed a villain? Was it okay to do? Was it the right thing to do based on the situation? It's going to be an interesting dynamic, which leads me to how those repercussions of what's done permeates through the series and how it really is what made it good. They never told you if it was okay. They never told you it was wrong. That's how the whole story works, and that's why it worked out so well at the end. Even had the heroes questioning themselves, they realized the bad guys have their view of what the ultimate thing is based on what happened in their lives. The losses and things turn them to, some of them are very, very mean and hate and darn right evil, and they showed it. And some are intending to do good, but the methods to get there are doing bad. Like, when they found out, well, the goal was to give everybody universal health care, to take care of everybody, to end poverty and all that. It sounded great, and the heroes had to question themselves. Are we the bad guys? Are we doing the right things by stopping this? But they never told you what was right or wrong. But what you did see is how to get there. What would it take to get those things and make those things really happen? And they had to kill people. They had to murder people. They had to steal from people, right? And they have to make you think the way they think. They have to change and take away your freedom of choice, your freedom of ability to think and make your own decisions, and force you to do something to have these things. Because that's the thing. Not everybody agrees. And that's why they're evil. It isn't because what their end goal was. It was how they get there and what they have to do to get there. Because once again, these are things almost everybody wants. Let's be realistic. No matter what political party you stand on, you want everybody to have health care. You want everybody to be able to eat. That's not the problem. The argument is how we get there and how we can do it. That's the fundamental flaw, the reality of how it would happen. And so this show never tells you this is wrong, you have to be this. It even made the heroes question, well, wait a minute here. What they're offering, what they want to do is truly good, but what will cost to get there? Costing people their freedom, taking away their personal rights was what was wrong. They never truly told you this is bad, this is good. And that's a problem we see a lot with the DC television series. They're more agenda-driven, as well as comic books today. That's how comic books used to be in the past. That's why I love these people. Well, comic books have always been political. And we say, yes, but they were written better. But that's what we mean. They would give you good and bad, but they weren't always clear-cut. Like sometimes how you get to the good required bad, and that was the problem. And the storytelling would do a much better job. The heroes, to preserve our ability to have freedom, have our personal freedoms, and protect us in our way of life, had consequences that they had to bear. So it wasn't a you are bad, you are good like it is today. Now today they shovel in politics, and it's so clear cut. They don't say, hey, here's the information. You come up with what you think. I remember there was a great one about guns written by Chuck Dixon and Robin, and the positives of why you should be armed and some of the potential drawbacks of having guns. But the writer, Chuck Dixon, never told you how you were supposed to feel or told you were bad for feeling one way. In today's comic books and a lot of the television shows, for most of them, for the DC, not quite all, but most, they will tell you flat out, you are a bad person. You are a scumbag if you vote for this person or you believe this way or that way or have a religion. There lies the problem. So that's where this show went well, where the others don't. I was really, really impressed all the way through as it continued to go. I was really enjoying the show, enjoying the father-daughter relationship between Stargirl and her stepfather, and how they were bridging that and coming together more and more. Not depicting a dad like a normal television show today as just an idiot, or how the parents don't do anything right or are just in the way. No, he was an instrumental piece of the team, giving her learning opportunities and teaching her. And we've seen her not be a Mary Sue when she thought she had everything together and had her way and had her friends together as a team and failed hard and realized, oh man, he was telling me right all along. And the way he interjected is like, yeah, it's a pretty annoying when you tell all that and they don't listen to you, isn't it? In a nice, realistic way. And that's the thing. We didn't get Mary Sue characters. We had realism. We had character growth. And I think we're going to see that hopefully in the second season, as long as it doesn't get ruined. So there's my thoughts. I hope that Stargirl remains wonderful. It is right now the exception, but wouldn't it be wonderful if this kind of content was the rule and not the exception in superhero television and comics? I think that could truly be something fantastic. Had a pretty darn good cast of characters. The acting was pretty good throughout. The villains were interesting, especially since they managed to have a pretty dynamic cast of villains as well as a dynamic cast of heroes. Can they top that next season and bring together something with such a sinister story, with interesting characters going in and out? I don't know. I really fear, since it's changing networks and going to be predominantly on one network, that it's going to get hit with a budget cut as well as some agenda. Because I know, some people are, well, it's the producers and the executive. Yeah, but you know what? Networks push. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. Networks push for certain things to be certain ways. That's common knowledge. Shows will change dramatically, significantly, and all kinds of factors based on network push, because that's what they want to keep the show on the air. I hope this does not happen to Stargirl, because I truly, truly mean it. I think Stargirl right now is the exception. I want to see it as the rule. But that's my thoughts. What are yours? What do you think about Stargirl? Do you think the show was a step above what we've been seeing? Don't you wish, or do you disagree with me, that they would be more like Stargirl? Well, anyway, I appreciate you listening to my ramble. So time for me to give you that question, that no prize. So once again, the first person to answer this question in the comments below gets a no prize. Don't get too crazy on that. If you don't know what a no prize is, look it up. It's nothing too spectacular, but you do get some pretty amazing comic book bragging rights. So this question is, what alias does Hercules use when pretending to be human? And this is from the Marvel Universe, Hercules. Once again, that's from the Marvel Universe. What alias does Hercules use when pretending to be a human? He hasn't done that in a while, so this should be interesting. I hope you do that. Let me tell me your thoughts about Stargirl. Did you enjoy the show? And hey, if you haven't, I strongly suggest that you give it a shot. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. I greatly appreciate it. You have a wonderful day, and keep it frugal.